Hey, welcome back, everybody. It's time again for another episode of Health Talks, the only show that shows you the way to a healthier path and all the good things that can come as a result of it. With the man who knows how to walk a healthy path and find that next step in his life, Dr. Trin. Welcome, sir.
Hey, good morning, Pa. Happy New Year. Good morning, Amy. I am excited to bring on Amy, my good friend, this morning. And we always talk about health talks, but health to me is more than physical health, right? There's emotional health, physical health, that's brain health,
spiritual health. There's all sorts
spiritual of health. Today we're going to talk about financial health, and the person to talk to is actually somebody who I'm a client of.
Oh, thank you. Good morning, Robert. Good morning, Dr. Icky. Thank you for having me this morning on your radio show. And today I'm going to share with you how I personally do planning for my financial, for my own. And I hope from here, mostly for a female audience, maybe you can learn something and maybe you can apply for yourself.
Well, and I'll tell you what we're going to hopefully learn is not just how to do it, but how it leads you to follow your passions. If you have financial security, if you're not worried about making the rent or making your bills this month, you can start to think about bigger things. You can start to think about leaving a legacy for your kids. You can start about feel comfort in your old age, and maybe, as we're going to talk about in the second half, follow your passion. Let's talk about that. How did you get into financial planning? And what is it you do for your clients like Dr. Trin?
Yes. Well, so it's simple because I am a mother. I have 2 children, and that's when I start to think, what am I going to do to put my children to college for them to have better life? And also what you mentioned earlier is the legacy that we're going to leave behind for our children. So I started cleaning my family financial. Simple thing is first thing you need to know what you have first. And when you look at it and then you don't know what to do, you start to make a phone call. So I start to call my family financial advisors first. Mm-hmm. And when I go through the list with them, I realized something that unusual because we had too many accounts, and I don't know what they for. So by going through all of them,
you're talking about bank accounts?
No, I'm talking about annuity because I manage my whole family portfolio. Okay. So I review everything, and when I look at it, I put into Excel, and you have more than 30-something account active, and it's telling you there's something, why so many account, and they are similar. Annuity, life insurance, and other stock investment portfolio. And when you start to track them and you realize, this month we lost money, 65,000 this quarter. Wow. And why do we continue to pay a management fee and we still lose money?
Right. When
you begin to have the question, you start to looking for an answer. So that's how I enter into I didn't know it, end up with my career, and the career that I have enjoyed the most throughout all my career. And because nobody financial the same, everybody had different goals. Mm-hmm. Everybody have a different way and different strength in your finance. So throughout that, I sign up for the class to learn about life insurance because we had many life insurance. And in fact, that one of the first life insurance that I ever had, when I was 25 years old and I bought my first home, and I bought that life insurance because I was told that in case if I die, my father doesn't have to sell the home that he had, and the home that I have, that it pay will be clear for him. So I bought that. I remember, and I still have it until now. It's my first 250,000 when I was 25 years old.
Wow. Isn't that the purpose of life insurance? Do you have to wait for your dead to benefit?
Most people, they think, oh, life insurance is just for you to die. But nowadays life insurance is different now. It's not die to use anymore. I realize that there are many things you can do with it now. And
well, let's there's a lot there. Let's see if we could get this on some path here, because we want to end up with getting the financial freedom for you to pursue your dreams here. So it started with you weren't happy with the information you were getting. You had professionals that were looking at this, but every time somebody came into your life, a new professional, he or she said, buy this, get this, because that's probably what they were selling.
Exactly.
And so you started buying lots of policies and lots of different things, and they were all disconnected, but there wasn't a plan. It was all just a pile of stuff that you were buying. And you decided to put it together into some sort of plan to make it work. Talk about that, a plan, because too many of us just have, I don't know, I got this, I got that, I got this, I guess I bought some of this, I have that, I think I'm covered. But there's no plan going forward. It's just a pile of stuff in a drawer somewhere.
And you never look at the statement. That's one of the things I find out through my career. A lot of my clients, they never look at the statement to know how it's performed.
Yeah.
And sometimes they don't know how to read the statement too. So,
well, I'm going to blame some of your fellow professionals, because every time I try and look at it, they say, don't look at it. We're in the long term. Don't worry about month to month, quarter after. Oh, so you lost some money. You'll make it next month. We're talking about a long horizon here, 10 years, 20 years. Don't worry about what happens day to day, month to month, year to year.
Yes. But, like you just mentioned, throughout life, our goal change. Like when I younger, I found that I love aggressive, high risk, high return.
Yeah.
But when you reach to the age that you plan to retire, will you be risk if your portfolio will lose 30% to the market? That's something you have to reconsider.
Not if it's going to take 30 years to come back.
Anymore.
Yeah. Not if it's, I don't have the time horizon. Right.
So what is the different? So when we think of life insurance, we just think of how much is our family going to get when we die. So tell us the different types of life insurance, and because you talk about life insurance that you can use when you're still alive.
Yes.
Tell us about that.
Okay. So the new life insurance right now is for you to live and use. So number one, let's say if we pass away and we already know that our family will be taken care of with that amount that we left behind. What if we don't die? What if we get sick?
Right.
And where you're going to get the money? So you will end up spend all of your saving just so you get sick. Now you know that there's a product out there that will give you that. We call that living benefit.
Living benefit.
Living benefit rider, and it's included in the policy, which is you have that one, Dr.
Yeah.
Yes. And what if you not die and you not sick? You live too long. It's also a problem because you run out of your money.
Right.
Because now with medical advantage, I found that people live longer, and with the inflation and everything, maybe your $1 million now, 20 years from now, is maybe not the same.
Yeah.
That scares me. Let's talk about that for a second, because I've asked people through the years, and I've asked people through the years, how much do you need to retire? How much to feel safe? And everybody goes, I don't know. Everybody's different. How much do you want? And they give you all this nonsense. I said, no, I want to get a formula. Maybe not a number. I want a formula.
Robert, so let me tell you something. This is what I usually tell my clients.
Right.
Yeah.
So let's do a quick math. Let's say how much it costs for a meal nowadays. A decent meal, $20?
Right.
Okay.
At least $20.
Yeah.
At least $20.
Even McDonald's is $15, $20.
And then you eat 3 meals a day, right? Let's do a math real quick then.
All right.
$20 multiplied by 3 meals a day, multiply that for 30 days, and then multiply that for 12 months. And I plan to retire in 20 years. Multiply that for 20. You will need at least 432,000 just to cover eating
Just
for the
to
next 20
eat.
years when you retire for three-day meal. And if you have a spouse, you multiply that by 2.
She's shorter than I am, though, so she only eats half as much. I don't know
See,
if that
guys,
matters.
this is why I promote intermittent fasting.
Yes. Money. It's all
You
about
save
money.
You're not going to run out when you only eat once a day, right? It's not for health, it's for wealth. I'm just kidding. Anyway,
Let me give you
how about
a serious example. So my late father, who died 10 years ago, was a planner. He wanted to have a plan for everything. And so when he looked ahead, he retired. My dad died in his 90s. He retired in 1970. Hard to imagine that long ago. And it was right after an inflationary period, or right as we were going into one in the 80s, when everything suddenly jumped up. The price of cars, the price of houses, the price of salary, everything suddenly jumped up in the 80s. Jimmy Carter and Reagan in those years and everything. So when he retired, just prior to this inflationary run-up, he thought he had it made. We lived in a very nice neighborhood. I'll give you some numbers here. We lived in a very nice upper middle class neighborhood. He was a executive with a car company, Chrysler, and I think at most he ever made. He was a vice president for Chrysler Corporation. Most he ever made in his life was probably $50,000. But our house cost $50,000. A big, beautiful house cost $50,000. Our car cost $5,000. And so my dad looked ahead at his retirement, and he said, I'm going to get $3,000 a month for the rest of my life just for doing nothing from Chrysler, plus Social Security. I'm going to get $50,000 a year. I'm going to be set for the rest of my life. So he retires. Along comes inflation. Along comes everything else. And we know the answer to the story. $50,000 doesn't get you anything. $50,000 doesn't buy you a house. A car can cost $50,000. A house costs 10 times that or more, $500,000 just back in the Midwest, $1 million out here. He was totally unprepared. Now, he also didn't know when he retired at 65 that he was going to live to be 95. 30 years. He thought maybe 10. I only got to survive for 10 years. He didn't know he was going to live for 30 years. So his money ran out. What he thought, he spent his whole life making a plan, and he acted on it, not knowing that that amount of money was not going to make it for 30 years. And I never forgot that, because he was somebody who planned his whole life. He was completely wrong about everything, about the amount of life insurance he had. He had $50,000 in life insurance. He made $50,000 a year. Our house cost $50,000. He thought that was the number. It was going to stay that way forever. It didn't. It changed. And the number, and by then he couldn't, so he had to go back to work later in life as a consultant. And that actually turned out to be a good thing. He made more than $50,000, only working 6 months out of the year. But and he did that up into his 70s. And that was the only way he survived, because his plan failed. Talk about that. What does it mean to look forward? The good news is Dr. Trin says I'm going to be 95. The bad news is I'm going to live to be 95. What am I going to do for money?
Yes. Actually, to have a plan better than you don't have a plan at all. Right. That's what I had to say. And let's go back to the one that I just mentioned earlier. So what if you live too long now? You need the money to retire.
Right.
So the life insurance will give you that supplemental income without taxes. You don't have to pay tax. And better yet, the one that I have done for many clients, that include Dr. Icky, he was one of my first clients. Have you heard something that funding for your retirement, and we're matching with the bank 1 to 3. $1 I put in, I will get the bank fund for me $3.
The bank is going to give me $3?
Yes.
The bank doesn't give me anything. My bank gives me pennies on the dollar here. Yeah.
Because there's the many product out there, and just because we don't know. When I first started this plan 6 years ago, I did not know there's such plan out there that you can buy the life insurance and you can get a lender will lend you 75%.
All right, you got to walk me through this one. I've never heard
Yes.
this one. All right,
And
so
let
give
me
me,
show-
give this is a life insurance policy,
Yes.
and I
Yes.
borrow money to what, for the monthly premium, or do I buy it all at once?
So what you're gonna do? Your responsibility only 5 years of 25% that you're gonna pay. So for example, like mine was 100,000, so I pay it in 5 payments. So I pay $20. I mean 20,000 for 5 years, and I'm done with my 25%. And the bank is funding 75% for me in the next 10 years.
Why would the bank do that? Why would the bank pay the?
Let me share with you why the bank do that. Just like how you buy the house. Why the bank fund you the money to lend you the money to buy your house?
Right.
Ooh, interest?
What is it
Because
that why would the bank want to do that? Is this like a big bank, Bank of America?
Because
Wells
the
Fargo?
bank, they love your business. They want to loan your money. Because a lot of people out there, they don't know where to put the money. So they put the money in the bank for safety. And
Right.
how much the bank give you each month? 0.0 something.
Yeah, zero. They give me nothing.
And then they
back.
turn around, they say, Amy, I know you want to buy life insurance and you want to loan the money. How about I'm going to loan it for you 3%? And I say, yes, I would
I see.
like
So
to borrow
they
that
don't
3%.
give it to you. It's a loan. They're going to give you a loan, and do they
Yes.
become the beneficiary if you die?
Well, you have the loan and if you die and your death benefit will pay for that portion of the loan, whatever left will go to your family.
I see.
And your life insurance will be a collateral for the bank. So they had nothing to lose.
Interesting.
I've never ever heard of that, of borrowing money from a bank at 3% or 2% or 4%, whatever it is.
No, actually, it depends on the market. But my loan rate last year was 2.75.
So you're
For-
borrowing money to have life insurance, and then at
Yes.
the end of the term, when you die, they settle up. How much did you borrow plus the interest? They take that
Yes.
away from the
Yes.
proceeds, and then whatever is left over, they distribute to your beneficiary.
Actually, don't.
But actually, what I use that plan for me to live. I didn't use that plan for me to die.
How do you use
The
it?
money is used for living, Paul, not for death. And so she'll explain to you how this life insurance money isn't for death benefits, it's for living
Because
benefits.
that's all we think of as life insurance is really death insurance.
Yeah.
Yes, but for me, for me to live, for me to retire with that income, without tax.
All right.
No,
How
so-
do you? Are you talking
Yeah.
about an annuity then that pays you a certain
I'm
amount?
talking about this is a life insurance, and it had the option that gives you the living benefit supplement income that you can take out the money from your cash value and live on with that money
For retirement.
for
Ap-
retirement.
After a certain
Long-term.
number of years. So you have to build up some equity in this. You got to build up some value in the policy.
Yes.
So it's a whole life policy that somehow
That's-
you're.
And you know that life insurance nowadays, the one that we currently have is what I enjoy the most is an index, different than the fixed. Most of the life insurance out there, whole life insurance, they have a fixed interest rate.
Right.
For me, if you know the market can go up to 8 or 9%, why do you want to limit yourself at 3% interest, fixed interest?
Right.
And with the index, if the market go down, you don't lose anything. Let's say that year you lost 38%, just like in 2008.
Right.
That year, your interest return will be 0, but you never go negative.
So it protects your base. You don't, if the market crash, your numbers don't crash. What you have.
So why is it that nobody sells life insurance for the living? It's always life insurance is for when you're dead.
Because for the work, life insurance, people always think it's for dying.
Right.
So yeah. So now for me, life insurance is for me to live. It's not for dying anymore. So if you have the old one, you may want to look to see if the new one will be replaced that and to give you that benefit.
Let me ask you another question, because I never thought about this. And I'm going to become clean. I'm probably the only one listening to this show. I have no life insurance, zero. I never saw the value in it. I thought, why am I going to pay today for something that's not going to happen? And I guess, yeah, I worried about my wife, my kid, my house a little bit, but not enough to ever do anything about it. I'm not going to die, I thought, when I was younger. And now when I'm older, I don't worry about those things. You know, everybody's on their own, whatever. So I don't know that life insurance, at some point, I looked at it a year or two ago. Oh, it was astronomical because I'm in my 60s now. It's unaffordable. And it would only go to like 80 or something. It doesn't even, I can't even get it for the rest of my life. Those years I worry about in the 90s or the 80s, they won't even insure me. I'm too high a risk at that point in time. So is life insurance just for younger or middle-aged people, or at some point, if you haven't gotten it, it's too late?
Not really. Do you know that life insurance nowadays, it can go up to 120 years, not like 60 years old, like an old policy anymore. Life insurance nowadays, when we run the illustration for our customer, we have to make sure it cover 120 at the age.
That's how long you're going to live, Paul.
Yeah, that's how.
Yeah, right. I could, right.
And the age that you can stop by life insurance now, I believe 80 years old. So 60, you're still young.
But it's got to be expensive because the odds are, at this age and older, the odds of me dying at 40 are pretty small. The odds of me dying past 65 go up dramatically here. So it's got to be pretty expensive.
Robert, a lot of people, they say life insurance is way expensive. But I have sit down and review statement with my customer yearly, and what I have experienced, most of the policy that within 6 or 7 years, it pay for itself. What I mean by it pay for itself, the interest that you gain is enough to pay for the cost of insurance to cover that. So most of the account for my client, Dr. Icky have 3. You will see that whatever you put in right now, you already year 6 and you already see you make money. So that means the life insurance is free for all those years now.
I'm struggling to see, Dr. Iggy, how do you make money? How does life insurance just seems to be like car insurance? You pay.
So this is something interesting I've learned, Paul, specifically with this particular policy, is that one of the policies, I only pay for 5 years and I'm done.
That's the one that I mentioned, the bank funding. So
I'm done after 5 years.
I've never heard of it. Is this by some big carrier or something? Or does everybody have this? Or is this some unique little policy you found somewhere?
It's a unique. And every time that we go to the funding, in 1 year, we have only 6 funding period. If you miss that, you have to wait for the next year. And these banks have to qualify, these carriers have to qualify with the bank because the bank don't just loan money to anyone.
No, they don't want this. And I always worry, too, that in today's world where everything goes up, so much of insurance, will it really be there? I worry about it. And we talk about earthquake insurance, house insurance, car insurance, big things you insure. You have to have those. And I wonder sometimes, will they just go bankrupt? Will they just say, sorry, I know you've been paying forever, but we ain't got it?
Let me ask you. So you just mentioned car insurance, health insurance, earthquake insurance, phone insurance, and who pay for it? We are the one pay for it.
I pay for it. Yeah, right.
Yeah, and if you don't insure, if something happened to then who gonna pay for all of them?
Well, that's the good point.
And we are the most valuable one, and we make all those payments for those bills. And if we're not there anymore, who gonna pay? And we forget to insure ourselves. And then most of the time, insure our life, I have seen it cheaper than insure car or cell phone or house, because I have seen the policy that whatever you pay, you have that in your accumulation cash value. It's different than pay in the car insurance. You will never see the money coming back.
Never. No.
What does it mean? Cash value.
And there are many different policy out there. There's some policy it's like car insurance. You buy, and they call that term insurance.
Right.
Term insurance does is you buy 10 year, 20 year, and 30 years.
Right.
And make sure that you have to die within those years. If not, anything you pay in that policy, gone.
Yeah, right. So just make sure you die in that period of time here. Because if you knew exactly when you were going to die, it'd be easy to figure all this out.
But it makes sense for me. I think it's really affordable for, let's say, a family start buying a house, and the husband is the only one that working. So it makes sense for him to buy a life insurance for 30 years.
It's a short-term problem. I've got to, until I pay off the house, I got to have it insured if something happens.
So in case anything happened to the husband, the house will be paid off free and clear for his family, at least. And it's really affordable. It's really cheap. I had to say.
Well, we're getting we're running through the products quickly here. Rather than spend too much time talking about specific products, you had somebody else you wanted to bring in, because in your own life, that was the point of the story. You found financial freedom. You went into a new field and became a financial planner because you weren't getting a plan. You weren't getting good advice. So I'm going to learn to do it myself, and now you do it for others. And what has that done for you? It's allowed you to dream. Not just to protect your, because that's all we think of a financial plan. It's just a plan. It's a protection. Okay, now I'm protected if the worst happens. But we don't think about it as a way to achieve your dreams. Life insurance isn't going to open up my dreams.
No, life insurance is just one of the tools that allow me to leave the legacy behind for my children. And it will allow me to supplement some of my income tax-free when I retire. That's how I look at it.
And the pension plan, Paul.
Yeah. Well,
one thing I would like to mention too, the type of policy that we currently have right now, it gives me the flexibility that I have seen in my clients. You know, last year, a lot of people have houses, but they cannot take out the cash out finance in their house. Why? You have no job to prove to the bank that you can make the payment for that refinance cash out. Right. Most of the time, my client have the equity in the house. They cannot get it.
Unless they sell it, and then where do you go?
When they talk to me, I say, hey, do you remember you had the life insurance that I did for you 6 years ago? Go in there and take out the money. And Dr. Icky, you remember I show you the app that you can do it. The next day, the money will go into your bank account, no question to ask.
Yeah, it is a forgotten asset, people, if they have life insurance, if they have a whole life insurance, not term. Most of us buy term life. I had term life at some point just for a short term because I was worried about the house or whatever things, but the life insurance, I was told, is a sucker's bet. You only cash in when you die, and it doesn't pay much, and there are better ways to put your money into the stock market or other sorts of things. Life insurance is not sexy. It's not a very talked about product anymore here, and I don't think many of us have life insurance anymore. I don't know what the numbers are, but I don't know.
You'd be surprised. My very small office in Santa Ana with all my colleagues, we did a total $2 billion for our team only.
Wow.
And with the insurance that the bank funding 75%, we have done $350 million
in life insurance.
Wow.
Yes. So a lot of people are aware of that now.
Well,
what's the name of your office, your organization?
Yeah. How do they find you if they want to know more?
Yes. Well, you can find me. If you're interested in the plan that I will mention, you can get more information on a website called AskAmyHow.com.
Ask Amy How.
What a perfect name for a website.
AskAmyHow.com.
Yeah.
Yes. So you can go there and you can see how that plan will work for you, and it explains to you in detail how it does. And if you need more, you can reach out to me.
All right.
I can share with you what I have done for myself, and I have done funding that last year, and I'm really happy with that. And I hope
Ask Amy
this is something that a secret that
Ask Amy How. That's an interesting That's interesting. Ask Amy How, huh?
Rather than a business name or a series of partners or something.
I went to it, and it takes you to a thing called Kaizen.
Yes.
What is Kaizen, Amy? What is that?
Kaizen is the product that I mentioned to you that you put in 25% for short 5 years, and then the bank will fund you 75%.
And you're done in 5 years.
and you don't fight it like your
Wow.
policy.
Wow.
Can you imagine that, Paul? I mean, you're done in 5 years and you have this protection for life.
Never.
Is the and you put in 25% and the bank puts in 75%.
Never, ever even heard of something like that. That's all right. So we're going to let that sink in. But the bigger question is, you had somebody else you wanted to bring on with you here?
Yes. And with all the things that I did, now finance become one of my passion. And that passion allowed me to do charity work that's one of the things that I like to do.
Right.
And that's how I met Dr. Icky. And another thing is I be able to funding my first filming project as an executive producer for the movie called Sumland. And together, I have...
Wait a minute. Wait a minute. All right. So first you decide at some point in your life, I don't like the financial advice I'm getting. I'm going to become a financial planner. I'm going to figure this out.
I would do both because help you to make money. And then now I want you to chase what you want to do for your dream.
So why did you always want to make a movie? I came from the movie business. I worked in the movie business when I was younger.
Actually, funding this project is because of one thing. I want to support my friend Leon to fulfill her dream. Wow. And this movie was the one that and you can talk about it. Actually, let's add
him on. Is he on?
Bring him in here. Is he? Let me look and see if he's in Facebook here.
Is he in the waiting room? Is he in the waiting room?
I'm looking right now. We got caught up in. Let's see if he's in the waiting room. Leon is in there. Welcome, Leon. He's coming in.
He's coming in.
Oh, he's cockeyed though. He's upside down. We got to get him straight in there. There he goes.
There you go.
So Leon, we have been talking about how Amy changed her life, how Amy became a financial planner, and how she helps other people protect their life and live the happier, longer life. But with that money, she said she wanted to do something. First, it was charity. I want to help others. And then she wants to help you find your dream. Who are you and what's your dream?
Yes. Well, she definitely changed my life as well. Well, my name is Leon Lei. I am a writer and film director. Amy is my savior who actually single-handedly saved my first feature film production by willing to invest the final 10% right before the production on the verge of being shut down.
Wow. And this is an independent movie that you're producing. Is this your first, or have you done others?
It is my first feature film. It's actually being produced by one of the biggest studios in Vietnam. But at the last moment, one of the producers backed out. So
one of the backers backed out. Yeah, that happens too often. Yeah.
Right. So, I was talking to Amy on the phone one night, and she was like, you know what? Don't worry about it. I got it. And all I remember was just I was weeping because it's this whole journey of finding backers and
it's horrible. It's unbelievable how every movie gets made. We could talk about that sometime, but I saw it first. I was an entertainment publicist. I handled Johnny Mathis and Anthony Quinn, a bunch of other people back in the 80s. I worked for I was a partner in a big entertainment PR firm, and so I didn't put together movie financing, but I watched my clients, directors, actors, and stuff go through this process. It never gets easier. I don't care if you're Steven Spielberg. There's always a crazy path to getting financed, and there's always 57 problems along the way before it's a miracle any movie gets made, much less independent movies like yours.
For sure.
Is this an English language or Vietnamese language film?
It's a Vietnamese language film with English subtitle.
Okay. And I don't know what the market is. Vietnam is 60, 70 million people. They must make a lot of movies in Vietnam for that audience here and for the Vietnamese community around the world. So is that a overlooked market to make movies? Like India makes Bollywood, and they make all these other. The Chinese still make giant Chinese markets for the films and stuff here. We think of movies as
Yeah.
just being an American phenomenon for an American audience, but really it's a worldwide thing.
Yeah, for sure. The Vietnamese film industry is definitely blowing up over the years for the last 10 years or so. When I first returned to Vietnam in 1908, there was about only 3 movies being released, Vietnamese film being made per year.
Okay.
Fast forward to end of 2020, there's about over 60 films being released.
Wow.
So basically every weekend there's 1 or 2 films, Vietnamese film being released. So you can see that it's the growth is very rapid. But in terms of international market, yes, as you can see, American audience is getting used to watching films with subtitles very recently with the whole the Oscars starting to recognize Asian films, and that. So it's still very beginning.
Asian filmmakers, Mexican filmmakers, Robert Rodriguez and others and stuff here. You're seeing
exactly.
You're seeing more and more international film directors with international casts and of course China is financing more. What is it, Mulan and all these other Disney?
Right, exactly.
And
with Parasite and Squid Game, it's getting more attention, so which is a good thing. But we still have a long way to go because American audience is still not that it's not in their culture to watch foreign film as much as surprisingly Vietnamese audience. They are very used to watch international films.
Yes.
Because they watch anything they could get. We used to growing up watching Russian films, Czech Republic films, American films. We're so used to them.
Right.
And what's
the name of your movie?
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask. Right. What's the name and what's it about? What's the name of the movie?
What's the name of the movie and what's it about?
Yes. So the film is called Song Lang, and in Vietnamese, Song Lang means an instrument to keep the tempo, and it's also double meaning. It means 2 men. So the story is about. It takes place in Vietnam, in Saigon, in 1980s, and it follows.
Wow.
Yeah, that's it. And it follows this a loan shark and his encounter with a young opera star, Cải Lương, Vietnamese opera, a young opera star, and how their friendship. The relationship blossom in the course of 3 days.
And are you the actor in the film, or just the director, or the writer?
I'm the co-writer and the director of the film.
Okay.
And he also a songwriter in the movie, and Cải Lương is a Vietnamese southern opera. It's a dying art, and for us to see it in the movie, and now I start to see people enjoy the art again. I'm really happy, and I cannot wait to see this dying art coming back.
I didn't know, because I don't know much about Vietnamese culture, I didn't know that they had their own form of opera. Is it like Chinese opera? Chinese has another form of operatic.
That's a good comparison. It's kind of like a Vietnamese version of Peking Opera, of musical theater.
Right.
Yeah,
whatever you want to call that, right? A musical style, right? So it's a Vietnamese version of that, as you say, Peking opera, Peking musical.
That's correct.
What inspired you to make this film and the story?
Yeah, exactly.
Actually, growing up in Vietnam, I was obsessed with Vietnamese opera, and my dream was to become growing up and pursue this career. Become a Vietnamese opera performer, which scared shitless my parents.
A dying art. I don't think so. Right.
They're exactly. Probably we want you to be a doctor or an engineer.
Of course, right? Asian parents. But we immigrated to the States when I was 13, and I knew that that dream is have to that's no longer realistic. But then I discovered musical theater. And so I'm like, oh, you know what? This is a perfect substitution. So I pursued musical theater. I moved to New York. I pursued a career in musical theater for almost 20 years.
Wow.
And then, but this, this unfinished, business with Cải with Vietnamese opera is still kind of like haunting me in the back of my mind. So finally, in 2007,
This is sort of like Phantom of the Opera. It's been haunting you all these years. Okay, right.
Exactly.
Right.
So in 2007, I decided to return to Vietnam for the first time with hope that I'm gonna produce an opera on stage just to satisfy, to complete my childhood dream. Yeah. But then at that time I realized that it's a very unrealistic ambition, because it's, as Amy said, it's dying art form. And even though I was willing to take the financial loss, artistically I'm not going to able to achieve what I wanted. So I figured let's use this energy and money and turn it into a film. At least, with the film, it's there forever, and it can reach much wider audience and international audience even. So that's when I decided to go, you know what, let's turn it into a movie script.
And why would you back this, Amy? Just to do a good deed, or because you really like Leon, or because you really want to support this dying art form? Why would you put your money into this, Amy?
Because I grew up with this dying art form, and this movie had brought back my passion to singing this old kind of music. And I realized that I would have my children learn about this, and they get used to hear me humming all around the house. And then when he say, "Mommy, I see this. I see you sing this one, this type of music." And my son, he loved to hear that I singing the old song.
Wow.
Is there anywhere in the United States somebody could see this? Could they see this in the Vietnamese community here in Little Saigon or in Houston or wherever?
Yeah, for sure. Their performances all the time in Vietnamese community in Orange County, and they actually wherever Vietnamese community are, there's always a little touring troops and performances that people still it's also, especially for Vietnamese living abroad, living in America, it's their one way to reconnect and to think about their homeland as well.
What little I know about Peking Opera, which is, I guess we call it opera, but it's just a high style of singing, a very formalized style of singing. And a very formalized structure to these stories here, like classic Italian opera. There's always a lot of death and dying, I'm assuming, and sad stories.
Right, very dramatic.
Very dramatic. In Peking, am I correct in saying that in Peking Opera, only men can perform, even the women's parts? And is that the same?
Traditionally, way back when, yes. But nowadays, female are playing female roles. But that's not the same case in Vietnamese opera. Vietnamese opera, structurally, male playing male part and female playing female part. Okay. Sometimes they do switch it up, but that's just for artistic choices. But normally, it's not the same as Peking Opera in that term.
And this may be a bad analogy, but would it be sort of like, I know we've all seen little what's the one about Saigon?
Miss Saigon?
Miss Saigon.
Miss Saigon.
Yeah, Miss Saigon or Madame Butterfly, or any of these types of tragic stories with Asian characters in them, which have musical elements to them. Yeah, right.
Actually,
yeah, for sure.
There's the movies right now. It released on YouTube, Amazon
Voodoo,
Prime, Hulu,
Fandango.
Oh, so we can watch all of that.
So
yes, for sure.
So this movie is out already? I thought it was still to come. No.
No, it has been released during the pandemic in US. So now it's available on Amazon Prime, iTunes, Voodoo, Fandango, YouTube. So you can all go on there and watch for like $2-3.
All right. And so what's the name of the movie again? Just so we got them interested in there again.
It's called Song Lang. Song is like song, SONG, and Lang, LANG.
Song
Got
Lang. Okay. All right.
Yes.
Go ahead, Doctor. You had a question.
How has the movie been received? How many countries has it been in? And, how's it been received overall?
Until now, we have been played in over 100 film festival around the world.
Wow.
And the film has won 54 awards, ranging from best film, best director, and best actor, and costume design, or whatever. And actually, just 2 days ago, we just won one of the most prestigious awards in Saigon after 3 years being released, and we won 7 grants from the government.
And what did we do with that, Leon? What did we all decide to do with that?
We bought
award?
life insurance. No, probably not.
Right? No, we decided to donate it to all of the struggling opera artists in Vietnam who's struggling through the COVID.
Wow.
So $7,000 in Vietnam goes a long way. It could help a lot of them.
What is the future of this art form? Is it in decline? Young people aren't interested in this kind of dramatic, operatic tales, or these kinds of productions. I'm going to assume that during COVID they shut down all the shows, so that means no money, no income for all these people who produce these shows. It's got to be tough times.
It's quite tragic because the government probably couldn't care less, because it's an art form that doesn't bring any more attention or money in anymore. So these poor artists, they basically just struggling to survive, and they only do it because out of passion, and isn't that an art form? Because the young generation, it's not cool for them to watch these things anymore.
Right. It's not, and yet they watch BTS from South Korea. They watch boy bands and stuff
here.
Korean pop. Well, and the other thing is, I'm told over and over again that the country of Vietnam is exceptionally young. I think half of the people in the country are under the age of 25 or something here.
Right.
Yes.
So there's been a population explosion of young people, and young people didn't grow up with this tradition. They don't know anything about it. It's not cool. They don't see it as cool, or it's old. It's what my parents did. Why am I going to, let's just forget about this whole thing.
Yeah. So, it's not so much that we hope to revive it. Now, I think the only thing we can do is just to preserve it so it doesn't disappear forever.
Yeah.
Because, with nowadays, everyone in all the young kids in Vietnam, they want to be Korean.
Yeah, Korean pop bands,
Korean
K-pop.
The in fashion, in the way they behave, like even on Facebook, half of the kids nowadays, they just made up some Korean names because it's so much. Like I'm like that's scary.
My grandson, who is mostly Hispanic, because my daughter's adopted from Mexico. He's all Hispanic. He is fascinated with BTS, and he can sing in Korean. And so this little Hispanic grandson I have his goal is to be a Korean pop singer.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to be BTS or the other bands. I can't name any of the other ones. BTS is the only one I know. All right. So the other, I relate to that because I grew up here in America, obviously, and I have a love for a dying art form, which is jazz. The only indigenous American art form is jazz. The only thing we made up ourselves was jazz out of the brothels in New Orleans and all the other things. We came up with this crazy thing with this syncopation and with all the unique things about jazz. My daughter and her generation couldn't care less about jazz. There are no jazz stations anymore. Nobody can name any jazz artists. It's all long ago. And jazz has gone through different types of jazz, from Dixieland jazz to, bebop and 1,000 other things here.
Yeah.
All of that's forgotten. And at this point, it just seems like all we could do is sort of document it before it's gone and maybe keep a little glimmer of it alive somewhere here.
Exactly.
What is that book that Amy held up? Is it something available that people can buy?
Leon, talk about that, Leon.
This is our second edition of a limited edition of 500 copies. It's the behind the scenes, the making of Song Lang book.
Oh, hold it up longer. You moved it so quickly we couldn't see it. Hold it up for a few seconds. Yeah. All right, just hold it there for a few seconds. All right, so talk.
Yes.
So it's a book about the
Yes.
making of this movie, and what would we see? I'm assuming that it's a tragic tale with a happy ending here.
Happy ending doesn't come in a tragic tale.
I guess so. That seems a contradiction, right? Yeah, but a struggle, certainly a struggle to get this made. Yeah.
Wow.
But people can order it on songlangbook.com. We only actually we don't have that many copies left.
We're going to sell out on this show. Everybody's going to buy one right here.
Where do they? Because it's limited edition. We only make 500 copies.
And where do they buy the book? Where do they get the book?
You can go to our website at www.songlangbook.com.
Okay, so there's a Song Lang,
SONGLANG book.com.
Book.com. So you can get a book about the making of it. Well, I'm always amazed when people follow a dream. Too often dreams die, and life comes along and says, that was just a dream. You're never going to do that. But there are some people that build that field of dreams in the middle of a cornfield, as Kevin Costner did in that movie, and in the hope that if you build it, they will come. I encourage everybody to support anybody with dreams, because there are too few dreams in the world, and they die too easily. I'm just a dreamer at heart here, so this radio station was a dream. A lot of the things we do are dreams. Somebody that thinks Dr. Trin works on are just dreams, and so often we tend to think of dreams as a waste of time, but the day we stop dreaming is the day we stop growing and imagining who we will be here. Yeah,
and
or living.
Yes.
Yeah.
But in America, dream does come true.
It really does.
Leon is proven, because I'm so proud that I did that investment, because we have won a total of 54 awards for the movie like that, and we leave something behind for our children to watch this about Vietnam. And now we introduce to the world Vietnam has such beautiful art, and I think that's already the dream come true for us already.
Well, that's what we always hoped. America was built on a dream, immigrant dreams from all over the world, people coming to make something that only here they could do. I sometimes wonder if the American dream is still alive, but I think it lives through the projects like this and through the immigrants that continue to come here, who we may get old and cynical, the rest of Americans, and say, oh, that doesn't happen anymore. You can't do what you want to do. You can't be anything you want to be. But for a lot of people, this is the land where you come to be whatever you want to be and do whatever you want to do. That's always been the dream here. And you've done it. So hooray. Congratulations to you for doing that and for successfully creating this movie here. All right, Dr. Trin, you're going to back a movie now here? Come on, you do everything else. I can see.
A zombie movie.
He's fascinated with zombies. I don't know why.
I already got land in the metaverse with zombies on it.
So if you can come up with, Leon, a way to bring zombies into your stories, you got another investor here.
Yeah, zombie with with Gai Leung singing and all that stuff. So.
That would be dramatic. That would be dramatic. Well, I think the time is right for the international markets have grown. I was involved in the movie business, as I said, on sort of not making the movies, but helping promote them and whatnot through my work years and years ago. And at that time, the international market was pretty small. Nowadays, half of the money that an American movie makes, if not more, comes from overseas markets. Half of it. Mm-hmm. So they're making movies not just with the world audience in mind. They're also making it with world partnerships now, the Chinese particularly, where major studios have major partnerships with Chinese films. And I think it's only within our lifetime, we're not going to think of Hollywood as the only factory for movies and the 3 or 4 formulas that they make, superhero movies and romantic comedies and all that. there's going to be a whole different style of movies as the world tells different stories in different ways here. And I think Americans are getting it, just like we have an appetite for foreign food. When I grew up in the Midwest. There wasn't Chinese food. There wasn't Vietnamese food, certainly. I never even heard of Vietnamese food here. Now I go to a shopping center anywhere in Orange County, and there's everything but American. There's still hamburgers and hot dogs, but there's 20 other restaurants. There's Turkish and Philippine and Vietnamese,
Right.
and we've learned to accept and to like all of those different flavors. Why not the same thing with movies?
Right, for sure.
All right.
And it's life is much more,
Oh, it's more than meat and
wonderful with
potatoes.
varieties,
When I
yeah.
grew up, it was just boring. It was meat and potatoes and spaghetti and hamburgers and hot dogs. That was it.
Right.
We didn't have a very colorful palate in those. We didn't have much taste for anything but a few things. And now we
Right.
have exotic tastes for food and for clothes and for images on film. We can't get enough of all this. So I think you're at the right moment to
Right, for
help
sure.
push that along here. All right.
For
Well,
sure.
congratulations on following your dream. Congratulations on making this a reality. And it just shows that if you put your financial house in order, you can dream. You can do bigger
For sure.
things.
Yes. Yes.
All right. Take us out, Dr. Trin.
You guys are both very inspirational to me, Amy and Leon, and thank you for coming on. We'll definitely would love for you to come back on sometime and let us know what you're up to with your next dream after
Any
this.
chance, I'll ask one last technical question. I guess it's too late now because the period's over. Any chance of this ever getting into like the Oscar contention for foreign film categories, foreign film of the year, or that stuff?
No, because that we've been released for 3 years now, so that time has
okay.
passed.
Okay.
Yeah, and the film has to be nominated by the country.
Yes.
Each country has to nominate their own film, and yeah. So, but there will be other chances in the future with other films.
Does every country, I guess there's 100 some countries, does everybody get to nominate a film, even if it's a country that doesn't produce a lot of films? Does Vietnam
Yes,
send a film every year? Yeah.
for sure. But it has to be nominated by the government of that country.
Got
It's not like any filmmaker from each country can just submit.
Right.
They have to it's like a beauty pageant. You have to.
You got to
be,
win the local contest, and then you
Yeah.
get to go to the world contest here.
Exactly.
Well, we got to get you, and what, I don't even know. It'd be interesting to look up and see what films Vietnam has been nominating the last few years. You never
Yes.
hear about Vietnamese films in this country, in the mainstream
For
press.
sure.
It's not something you hear about. I know that other countries have made inroads into that. Years ago it was French films were in vogue and Italian films, and now it seems to be Mexican films and other sorts of filmmakers. Bit by down Chinese films, certainly. Maybe the day is coming when we'll pay attention to Vietnamese films here, and they'll get a bigger audience
Yes.
here.
That's right.
Definitely hope so.
All right. Well, the next.
And I would like to say thank you for having us on the new year and let me have this opportunity to share with you what I've done for my client and how I follow my dream with my two supportive brothers. I would like to call them brothers from another mother. And I'm grateful for both of you because through helping all the project, movie or a charity project, I have brought joy to do what I want to do every day. So thank you.
Nothing needs to be said. We'll leave it right there. Thanks for joining us today here.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Amy.
Thank you.
Bye, Leon.
Well, there you have it. Dreams can come true. It can happen to you if you only have the finances and the tenacity to follow through. It's all part about living a healthy life that we talk about each and every week here on Health Talks with Dr. Trid, right here in Orange County's only community radio station, octalkradio.net, streaming live from the University of California Irvine's Beale Applied Innovation Center.